There are no waters on the highway like what we had this week, but I can see the Canyon River certainly has reduced in its height for sure. All right, let's get into the results of our morning poll. Let me just do a fresh share, see if anything new. Sexy San Fernando. Yep, Sexy San Fernando. What did you say? You said yes to the poll. All right, so thank you so much, Sexy San Fernando. All right, Rich, let's get the results of our poll. And of course,
so our poll this morning was
join our folks on YouTube. Good morning to you. For those joining us on YouTube, and of course, you can join our conversation on YouTube. When you watch your screen on the right-hand side, you'll see Power 102 FM, and you will see the link. You can come on and make your contribution, of course, and see what you have to say and move on from there. All right, so Rich, let's get into you. Oops. Hold on, I'll load this music down before Ruben buffs. Ruben is buff, Go ahead.
So the poll this morning was, do you think that Fitzgerald Hines should be fired as the Minister of National Security? Of course, we had 25 people voting on the poll during the allotted time. Of the 25, 17 of you said yes, he should be fired. 8 of you said no. So 17 people's opinion was yes, he should be fired, and 8 people said no. So that's it for our results this morning. Of course, this poll continues to be live throughout the day, through our programming, and we'll give you the final results on Monday morning.
What's unfair about the poll? Not unfair about the poll.
I can't answer that.
A valid question.
Do you think he should be fired? So, of course, the majority of our callers this morning said yes. 17 of you and 8 said no. So that's the results. Of course, you can join YouTube Live. This is your time, so you can join. Or you can just call, and we can also open up the lines too.
Of course, our cameras are on, so you'll be able to join us because we're streaming on YouTube.
Yep.
All right, and you can call us, yes, at 222-8255, 612-8255, North Americans, 866-525-1099.
But you even put on this camera now, jeez.
Yes, you have to. And of course, join us on our YouTube link. As far as I know, you have to.
Yeah, you have to. I thought you would like me to, and I'm obliging.
No, that goes above my pay grade. Sorry. Good morning, caller.
Hi, morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
Morning. No, I won't say that the poll is unfair. I mean, it's a question that's on the minds of everyone, right?
Thank you.
But my issue is, right, we usually argue the point in terms of separation of powers of the police and the state. Not understanding the role of the Minister of National Security. And we tend to associate his role as developing actually operational plan, which is quite separate.
So what is his role?
His role is in terms of developing and assisting in terms of resources and policies, right? The actual operational plan for crime is on the agencies, which is the Commissioner of Police, control of customs, and the other associated branch within national security, right? Now, if it is that we are being fair in terms of assessing what the Minister of National Security has done since he has come into office, which is a continuation of all other ministers of national security. And Senator Richards, I'm sure you will agree with me as being part of the Joint Select Committee. When listening to these things, you would have seen that there has been improvement in terms of the forensic science, the DNA, use of the DNA, etc., and resources given to individuals. Now, we have the false perception, right, that anyone comes in there that you have resolved in this issue of crime overnight. It cannot be. and I'll make reference to the gangs.
Wait, hold up. What false perception that whoever is in the position has an overnight resolve? Who are you talking to? You're talking to people in Japan who now have a problem with crime or have a recent problem with crime. We have a problem with crime going on for decades.
Yes, Richard.
So what you're talking about that'll be an immediate relief, or what are you talking about? This is an ongoing thing for citizens for years.
All right, so
you're contextualizing it in a strange manner, in my opinion.
Right. So you jump on coming to or assessing me without listening to my final point. Right. So what I am trying to explain to you, right, is that over the period of time, we have not dealt with the core issue, and which was when it is that if it is that you're not getting down to the solving of the murder rate, you have these recurrent things happening over time because these are the persons who are going out there and committing murders. You have seen over the short period a ramp up in terms of persons brought forth in terms of the murder rate. Nobody's talking about that in terms of the salvation rate, if it has been increased or decreased. Right? It's going to take a time, and you can make that proper assessment when it comes next year, because Senator Richards could probably speak of that, and I hope that he will, out of the Joint Select Committee, if they have seen actually an improvement in terms of persons given the resources, instead of sending ballistics, etc., to United States, and it's taking that time for it to come down here, right, in terms of solving the murder rate, if that has been improved. Right? So if it is that we are making an assessment, do not use the surface information.
So 550 on a historical high murder rate is superficial, is that what you're saying?
It was only a matter of time that it would have reached to this figure.
So you're saying that it was inevitable, no matter who was in power, whether as Commissioner of Police or Minister of National Security, that inevitably we would have
how
had
many
a
resources
historical high. Is that what you're saying?
It was inevitable.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes, since 2017, the figure has been increasing. In 2018, when Gary Griffith was Commissioner of Police, the figure was 518. Right? And I recall
2008 was our last record of the highest murder rate. We're now in 2022.
2018, when Gary Griffith was Commissioner of Police, the figure was 518 murders. And I specifically remembered when you all interviewed Gary Griffith, when they had a shootout between the police and the gangs in Port of Spain, live, and he spoke to you all and he said how it is difficult for you to experience when you're dealing with gang shooting and drive-by shooting to predict. Play back your tapes. Right? So what I am trying to explain to you, these things take time. And what it is that you have to look at, don't just look at the figures and 550, 550 and become emotional without understanding whether it is that the tools required.
I hear you and I hear what you're saying, but Trinidadians and Tobagonians have no patience with that. We are going to look at the data, and the data is that at this point in our history, this is our highest murder rate. You can twist and turn and try to say all sorts of nice soft words to try and say, oh, you have to look at this and look at that and look at A and look at B and look at C. But the reality is that we are at a historical high of murders. In any country, reasonable country that is happening, there is going to be an outcry and a response.
Nobody.
I personally am tired of platitudes and hearing all sorts of issues about, oh, it's a holistic issue, oh, it's a multidisciplinary approach. We have heard it all before. We're not new to this game. So deal with it and solve it. That's what you're being paid for.
Before I leave, Richard, my final point before I leave, right, is that you could keep saying that forever, and you'll keep changing individual. We've been doing that for years, and keep changing ministers of national security years. It doesn't change the fact that if it is that you don't deal with the core issues, and if you don't do that, you keep having this conversation for years coming. right?
You know,
Right,
you know
so-
what you're suggesting, sir, is that you can't have a multi-pronged approach and deal with the core issues while managing the spiral, which I disagree with. You can manage the spiral, you can deal with suppression, you can deal with detection, solvency rates, while dealing with the core social issues at the same time. So I don't agree that while we are tackling the core social issues, which we have all allowed to deteriorate over many years, which are manifesting themselves now, that we can't be more effective with suppression, detection, and police work, because police work is prevention as well as suppression and actually bringing criminals to book.
I don't think that you listen to me carefully.
I've listened to you very carefully. Don't say that.
We are dealing with multiple issues. We are dealing with it. But what I'm explaining
But
to you,
we're not dealing with part of it effectively, clearly.
what is the detection rate? And what has the commissioner speak about that hasn't given much of your news coverage when he formed an alliance with the NGOs to deal with the social issues? Why is that not discussed?
And when you talk about having been given much coverage by our news, that is another false equivalency, because the media reports, the media is wide and fervent in Trinidad and Tobago, coupled with the fact that the commissioner has a corporate communications department and a person on TV6 or one station every day who talk about that.
Is it though? Okay. I would like to see if any of your listeners are aware of that. And probably you could poll that. And then you see if it is that because most of the information relied upon the TT PS on Facebook, that they get information that is not recorded on the media. All right? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, caller, thank you. 222-825-612-855. Derek Cornwall, good morning, and thank you for joining us on our YouTube channel.
You know what? Before you start, Derek, you know what's amazing? I wish people would have those same understanding platitudes when other people in power. And don't be subjective in the understanding and the compassion.
Derek, good morning.
Selective compassion and understanding and comprehensive understanding of the complex, multidimensional issue.
Yeah.
People dying.
Yeah, we have talked about the country has talked about all of this multidisciplinary approach.
Let me give you a
to
classic
crime
example.
for years.
Let me give you a classic example of what is in the minister's hands. Pepper spray activation. That passed to the parliament, rushed to the parliament when Angela Barrett and Ashanti Riley killed. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Rush to parliament. Let's pass it. Let's come together and pass it. Where is it?
Mm-hmm.
That is multidimensional too. Look, you messed me this morning, eh? There are things that any state or government can do and be held accountable for. When you are campaigning to get to power, we have a plan to bring down crime. Remember that? We have a plan. Our strategies will work. The people who are there now, and this is for both sides there, don't know what they're doing. Our plans and strategies are born to bear fruit in 18 months.
Yep. Everybody has a plan.
Mm-hmm. And then what? Good morning, Mr. Cornwall.
Good morning, gentlemen. I look at this from a slightly different perspective, but first of all, I would say this, right? I have always liked Fitzgerald Hines as a parliamentarian. I have always been entertained by his contributions in the parliament, when he was in the Senate, when he was in the and in the House. I think he's somebody I like to sit down and listen to. I think there's a certain if you have a political team, you need people like him. You know, he fills a role. You know, he could go out and, as they say, run interference. He's very open with the media, I would say, compared to some of the other members of their team. So there is a need for somebody like him, I would say, on a political team. But I think in this role, as a Minister of National Security, I lost confidence in him when, I think it was earlier this year, on TV6, he said, that he's not responsible for making people feel safe. And I felt at that time that showed, people talk about like, well, what does a minister of national security do? You know, and if it is that you can't recognize that your primary responsibility is to make people feel safe in this country through policies, through even what you say, I think you know, and that to me, in my mind, showed that he had a fundamental lack of what his role and responsibility was. People talk about this differentiation between, you know, operational side, policy side, and all these different things. I'll give you, so the way I look at this is like this, right? So the government has been saying for the longest while that so now the government is saying that through the utterances of Minister Gonzalez, right? He said recently that, well, you know, if you change the Minister of National Security, it will make a difference. Remember he said that, right? Said if you change it won't make a difference to crime. If you change the Commissioner of Police, it won't make a difference to crime. Okay. But if you look at the history of the PNM, if you look at the history of the way they have approached the appointment and selection of a Commissioner of Police, the impression you get is that, well, you know, we are looking for the anointed one. And that if we don't find the best person to put in that particular slot, then, you know, we're all going to go to hell, more or less, in terms of the police service. So you need to find, so there's this notion that, you know, there is, you know, you can't just let the system create or bring up somebody, you know, police service commissioner or whatever it is, give you a candidate and we just run with that. No, we have to find the best person for the job. So the question now is Fitzgerald Hines the best person for the job? Because as I said, I am not a fan of past commissioners, you know, I mean, I will say that openly, but the issue of the way that whole process was handled with the appointment of that previous commissioner, with the reappointment, or I should say the appointment of the Commissioner of Police. I mean, that is a policy issue when you look at, like, you know, the amendments that were made to the law, the changes that were made, and we're still in abeyance, essentially. You look at what the Commissioner of Police said recently with respect to him having one DCP. You look at what the head of the police social welfare, right? They said when he visited that Earl Christopher's office, right? And he said he couldn't even see her behind the mountain of work on her desk, right? And that's policy. You look, I mean, government might be quick to say, well, as the police service commission and as their responsibility, but they're the ones that go to parliament. They're the ones that initiate these changes and stuff like that. And it's all well and good for the government and the prime minister to say, well, you know, we should change it, but it has to be done. Have you changed it? So I always remember in 2020, I think 2021, you know, there was a confirmation, a notification that went to the parliament for 3 DCPs. I mean, we spent a long time as a country. The Police Service Commission then did their work and they sent names. One of them was the current acting commissioner, DCP Jacobs. There was the appointment of the nomination for Hernandez, and then there was the nomination for Andre Norton, right? The government, in their wisdom, only decided at that point in time to appoint DCP to confirm DCP Jacobs in the role. Hernandez, if you recall, at that particular time, he had some sort of a issue where he was charged for whatever it was, I think surrounding the Andrea Barrett issue. That particular case, he was head of sort. And Andre Norton was at the third name on the list and they didn't appoint him, right? So you can't tell me that, you know, the government hands are clean with respect to crime and they are doing everything in their power. They're not, right? And I'm just focusing on that one little issue. The other thing I would say...
Just to piggyback on one of the things that you said that, and I didn't hear it, so I'm just taking what you said, that Minister Gonzalez said that changing the Minister of National Security or any minister is not going to make a difference. It's totally erroneous. Because if that were the case, governments wouldn't have reshuffles. Okay? Prime ministers wouldn't have reshuffles, and Minister of Labour would be still Jennifer Baptiste Primus, and etc., etc., etc. So any prime minister will make appointments based on what he or she feels is available to him or her, and the resources and the job they need to get done, and who he or she feels fits a particular competence. And an assessment is done on your performance by the prime minister. Am I wrong?
That's very true. That's very true.
So, which means you may appoint someone and you find they're either functioning properly or not functioning properly. And that assessment is based on KPIs and deliverables. Am I wrong? Like in any scenario of management. So don't tell me changing, and I'm not suggesting that the answer is to change Minister Hines by any means. I'm suggesting that the people in Trinidad and Tobago are not happy with his performance from what I've heard. It may not be that there's anybody else who could do the job better than him in the cabinet in Dr. Rowley's assessment. You understand? And it is Dr. Rowley's decision. But don't try to tell me that we should be patient and happy with what we're seeing in terms of criminality, because it is multidimensional, and don't, at some level, hold the minister / the government also accountable. That is not how it works in our system, the British system, the American system. We elect people to get jobs done, to make progress in particular sectors. And yes, we will hold them accountable for performance.
So when two other things I would say, when crime is on the way down, we saw this during COVID, right? And I recall the contributions in Parliament during that 2020 budget debate. I listened to what Minister Hines would have said. I listened to what the Attorney General, Minister of Finance, all of them touched on crime, right? Stuart Young, and they all took credit. Well, I mean, they said the minister, the police commissioner is saying that crime is done or whatever it is, but there was no there's no sort of like well, when good things happen in the police service, all are we sharing credit? Earlier,
when crime is down and we do well, it is ministers and the state
everybody sharing credit,
taking credit, which I have no problem with. So when our strategies and our initiatives and our policies are working and we take credit, it's great. But when things are not working, it's not us, it's the agencies. Really?
Yeah, that's what you get. That's what you get.
That's irreconcilable. Morning, Zina. I know you want to call.
Yeah, I have a call here. Good morning. Good morning. Going once, twice.
Yes,
all right.
I'm not the phone.
Morning.
Yeah, morning.
Morning.
Yeah, I'm glad someone
Well, you need to stop eating before you chat with us.
who can call back.
Wow, good.
Unbelievable.
Quite astute, Steve.
I know. You can tell his mouth is full. I can understand.
Because you used to tell the mic when you're eating, you're right. So you can see that.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't tell the camera.
He probably didn't expect to get through.
Yeah, exactly. Probably.
So
No,
he took a-
I get upset because we've gotten to the point in this country where, yes, I think we are all in some ways responsible for our contribution to reducing income and making trying to make a better place. But some persons are elected or selected and put in positions of more authority and more sway, right? And more influence in getting these jobs done. Richard Ragoobarsingh, Derek Cornwall, and Steve Khan are not the Commissioner of Police or the Minister of National Security. And you don't have the powers and the influence they have and the ability to move resources in particular directions to get jobs done. Yes, when we go about our daily lives, we're supposed to follow the rules and don't litter and drive safely and stuff like that and raise our children properly and teach them right and wrong. But in society, has a hierarchy of authority and power and influence. And when people are given influence and power by election or selection, more is required of them. And let's not abdicate those responsibilities and deliverables with, according to Richard, platitudes about multidimensional and things that we all know.
So here's what I think is going to happen, right? I think, first of all, the Prime Minister has boxed himself in a corner with his utterances, with the attacks he has placed, I should say, in the direction of Kamala Persad-Bissessar and her administration with the 5 or 6 different ministers of national security that she has had. And what he's been saying is that, this is a sign that, you've lost, control of the problem more or less. And you have to change people every fortnight. I remember he said once that you have to be changing people. So I could see where he doesn't want to make a change because based on his own utterances, it will signify.
Derek, you taking Dr. Rowley at a totally wrong age. If Dr. Rowley feels to change somebody tomorrow because he feels he has a better person to put, Dr. Rowley ain't, in my opinion, his personality doesn't lend itself to worrying about what you think.
What he said in the past, I could, okay. All
yeah,
right.
and politicians could reconcile that.
Ray, good morning too. Thanks for joining us and watching us on YouTube. Kit Cat 299 says good morning as
When
well.
you see come on that TV, he says spin that pen in his hand.
Anthony Tinto in Brampton, Ontario. Good morning. Miss Ingrid in Tucson, Arizona.
As of midnight tonight.
Karen Bernard,
Take it or leave
good
it.
morning to you as well. All right, caller, good morning.
Good morning. I'm glad.
Finally.
Let me start with the basis that our records of murders have been under one particular political party. We know that for sure. It is normally alleged that under the PNM party / government, we have high murder rates. That's the first thing. Secondly, do you really believe that the government is serious about crime? And I'm talking in the context of that Angela Barrett issue. Imagine they run quickly initially to modify the Firearms Act to bring pepper spray into the mix. That was like 2 years ago. The question is, can any woman go in any drugstore or parlor or any place and get a pepper spray? The answer is no. So how serious are they about crime and protecting the citizens of this country?
Well, I would, to be fair, I don't think any administration, to use your phraseology, will not be serious because it impacts the population's perception of their performance. Whether or not their strategies, policies, and initiatives are working is something else. So I can't say that the government not serious about crime, but I understand the figurative measure you're using there. I think it's serious about crime and reducing crime because it impacts the public's perception of their performance. Whether or not their approach is working is something completely different.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. We are taking your calls 222-8255, 612-8255. North Americans 866-525-1099. Chris Toussaint, you have to go on YouTube. All right, and look for Paul 102 Trinidad, and then you'll be able to watch us and send us a message. Then join our conversation.
Sitting down and saying, I don't care about crime and whatever happened. That is not sensible.
Yeah, I don't think
No, I
any
disagree
government
with that
is doing
perspective.
that.
I think
I
they're
don't think
very
any
serious
government
about it. Whether or not what they're doing and their policies and initiatives and their overall plan is working is something completely different. And I don't mean that they go out on the street and fight crime and pick up and arrest people. That's not their role. But as I said before, if from December 2nd today to the end of the year, we have 3 murders instead of 23, I'm guaranteeing you somebody's going to want to claim credit at the cabinet level.
Good morning, caller.
Morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
Wow, what a morning. You know, I listened to, dealing with Gary Griffith first. I listened to Gary Griffith talking. Gary Griffith, like he forgot under his watch. You know, this talk about changing national security ministers. Under Gary Griffith as commissioner of police, I'm dealing with the commissioner first. I don't know if you all could remember, 5 men were murdered in Karapo by some river under Gary Griffith. That same weekend, 3 people, because I remember a friend of mine live up there up St. John's Road, 3 people got killed. Like the criminals was on a rampage that weekend. A Venezuelan woman, her son, and a neighbor, or a mother and a son, and I think the neighbor was Venezuelans. Gary Griffith bumping the gum and talking. Gary Griffith used the last person to talk because the criminals did not care whether, because you felt you were an ex-Burroughs, that you would have had the criminals run into the hills. But they didn't. The murders, yes, we have more murders. This month is the November. But under you it happened. And Kamala Prasad-Bissessar changed 5 minutes of national security. And what happened? The crime went on. So I don't know where people going with this. Move Hines. Like when you move Hines, oh God, the murders go down. Really, Olia? Really? The police and them is not doing the work. I just be bashing them down here by me in West End because all kind of thing going on and nothing. Man parking, I don't know where they get the license from. You're supposed to stay, I think it's 9 meters how much from a corner. and it have a bar out on the main road and they parking close to the main road. And when you trying to drive towards the main road, back and all you, man had to back, all kind of foolishness. Police vehicle driving up and down the Martin main road, they ain't doing their work. So it's the people who are in charge, and I keep saying it, when we do not enforce laws, lawlessness continues, and that is why they say it. I put it in our neighborhood chat. People coming into this country, like the see a sign mark, welcome to Trinidad and Tobago, the land of the free and the lawless, because lawlessness reigns. And who in authority? The EMA, the town and country planning, the police, the customs, they turning a blind eye and it's going on. Y'all waste of time. Gary Griffith, do like Jesus and hush. Have a blessed day.
You like
Like
Jesus.
Jesus and hush.
Good morning.
Confused.
Good morning, guys.
Morning.
So I listened to the first caller this morning, and I would agree with Paul. It seems like this caller is, advocating that we should just put our hands up in the air and because we're doing something and wait for it to happen. But no, we've waited long enough, right? And to borrow a terminology, while the grass is growing, the horse is starving.
Let me make something clear, caller. I wasn't happy under Mrs. Sabi says about the management of crime either.
Sorry, what was that, Paul?
I said I wasn't happy under Mrs. Pasabi Sessa's stewardship with the management of crime either.
I'm not saying any one person, but I'm just saying the first caller.
Generally.
He was generally implying that we are doing things, but we should, and so that we shouldn't bash what is happening on the outside now because things are being done. And I am saying that is not an acceptable position or acceptable thing to put forward because, again, while the grass is growing, the horse is starving. So by the time the grass is growing, you have no horse to feed, right? And there seems to be that always, to me, and let me qualify it, that to me, it always seems that seems to have been the position somewhat of successive, crime fighting techniques. That, there will become a plateau at some point in time where everybody will kill themselves out, right? You hear the police complaining that if we hold them and we send them to the justice system, that the justice system just brings them back out. But you know what? Even if you hold them and you take away whatever weapons they have, right? At least those are weapons coming off of the thing. Now, the rate at which you do it, as compared to the rate at which the weapons are coming in the country, now that's a different thing. And again, your your parliamentary committee did highlight, this week that, well, we know why there's now a runaway rate of arms and ammunition coming in the country. Because there are no checks and balances that are properly being
And again, Customs and Excise has a line ministry and minister that can hold them accountable.
Correct.
To their PS.
Correct. And you are right, which is that are the people there that are put or elected there to make these decisions, are they making the decisions and shuffling the resources around to where the resources need to be put in order to effectively do the job? And the answer to that, if I had to assess it, I would say no, because what I am seeing is that there is a slippage and a constant flow and an escalation. There is nothing that, the overall thing, barometer that we the public can use is the rate. Because we don't know anything else that's happening.
Let me give you an example. The chairman of the Port Authority was before the committee this week, right? And he was asked, because we visited the Port Authority and the Airport Authority and Plibdeco 5 or 6 years ago as a committee. Then Minister Hines was the chairman of the committee. To his credit, he's the one who championed visiting these entities because he wanted us to see firsthand and not get these erroneous reports or these bloated reports from the agencies telling us everything all right, right? So, and we have to give Minister Crines, then chairman, credit for that because he wanted us to go and see ourselves. We even went to the prisons under his stewardship because he wanted us to see himself. We went. Gaps identified. You can walk in the Caracom jetty, walk on a boat, walk off a boat when you want. You could send a cashier guns on a boat from a CARICOM country into the CARICOM jetty, walk off with nobody stopping you. Recommendations made by the committee 5 years ago, right? The chairman comes before us this week. Chairman, what from the recommendations? Oh, there have been improvements. Do you realize I could walk on? I walked on and I walked off and nobody stepped me. That would surprise you? No, but it was improvements. But he's appointed by somebody as a chairman, and he's staying there for the next 2 years. I guarantee you. Now, I'm not saying he has to operationalize it, you know, but I'm saying he, as the chairman, is in charge of a board, who's in charge of a CEO, who's operationalizing port operations.
Right. Paul, and my question there, right, is that if this is such an issue and the ministers and they are feeling the brunt of it, why is there no particular fortitude to do what is necessary to make the changes? If it is that the service commissions is being the blockage or whatever it is, they have the power to make those changes. And there seems to be a lack of wanting to touch, the golden calf or the sacred cow. And that has to change at all levels. Thanks.
All right. Thank you. Good morning. Good morning, caller.
Hi, good morning.
Morning.
Two questions, two suggestions. Well, 2 points. Couple of points. The caller has said that the board should be fired. I don't agree with them, with her, with a female. And you see, that's what the Joint Select Committee needs to get into. Who did anybody write to the relevant authorities that is responsible for getting the technicians, getting the financing, getting the people already know how to fix, repair, maintain, or change these scanners that has been done for such a long time?
That is not the role of the Joint Select Committee, sir.
No.
We running the port now?
Here's what I'm saying, Paul. I'm saying on the ground level, you as a board member, as a board, had to cover your tushy by writing. So now, when you go back to the files, you can say, here, in 2012, when this scanner went down, I wrote to the PS, informing them that the scanner is down and we need a technician from Israel to come to fix the scanner. In 2012 to 2013, there's another letter I wrote to inform them that the scanner was down. So now when everybody publish showing themselves to the committee.
It's not about fixing the scanner, In this case, it's about the comptroller, deputy comptroller, and management of customs and excise and the port, realizing that we have a piece of equipment that has a particular lifespan and we need to procure more before it becomes obsolete.
And this is what I'm saying.
That is your work.
And I agree with you. And what I'm saying is that in order to protect their jobs now, because everybody looking for their heads now, in order to protect their jobs now, they need to be able to bring out and produce these documents. Here it is, I requested for this since 2015. Here it is, we requested for this since 2015. So if we have it now, when it's Papi Show time, it's not because we didn't request it, it's because Ollie didn't provide it. It's all about covering your tushy. So when your job dangling in front of you now, you have the documentation to prove, look, we did this here, we did this here, and we did this here. And without those documents, we now, who's sitting at home in the house, can jump up on the radio and say they should be fired. The people for the relevant document, for the relevant scanners, the people
I have not heard one person in customs say they've requested resources, including money and funding, and didn't get it. What they said is they had staffing issues that they were working on. So the resources is a matter of them doing their work diligently and with inertia.
Was the question asked? You see, you wouldn't hear it if nobody asked the question. And the question is, was the question asked? That's the first thing. I
you know what is suggestions based on what I will put to the secretariat, and I don't know if it's because I know they take questions via the chat on the Parliament channel, but I think, and this is just based on my experience, the committees need to start fielding more questions on the public to the stakeholders before us. Good morning, Mr. Celia.
Hi, a pleasant good morning, gentlemen. Good morning.
Right. Good morning, Garth. And let us welcome a caller as well. Good morning, caller.
Yeah, good morning.
Yep.
My contribution will remain the same. It seems as though we're going wrong in circles on, and I will say it again, accountability and responsibility is what is needed. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Celia, your contribution.
Yeah.
Well, while I am out here in the US, actually Tuesday, I think it was, I had a message from a very good friend of mine. It's like a sister from another mother, and who asked me to call her. And when I did call, she was a victim of crime. You know, she lives right on the Eastern Main Road in the vicinity of San Juan, Pittsburgh area there. And her husband, coming from work, went to the bank and apparently was followed home. These young men apparently jumped the wall and entered the house, she and her 3 children. Being, I think he's 14. And she's still traumatized. I could say that much. She called to ask me about the issue of the pepper spray too, because I heard it mentioned earlier on. And I told her, I believe it's the same process of applying for a firearm. You have to apply and then wait however long. It could take 5-6 years or more to even get, clearance, approval for that to happen. But the husband fought with one of the guys until he saw a gun. The guy went straight to his pocket. Like he knew where the money was. So that says that they saw him going to the bank and apparently followed him. See him, took out money.
That happens every day.
And which is going to intensify closer to Christmas.
Yes. Now, additionally, of course, he went to the station and made a report, had to comfort his family, the children, traumatized, wife traumatized. There's a drugstore right opposite where they live, and someone in the drugstore that works there saw the vehicle that they used to get away, and he got the number and called the husband and gave it to the police. Here was the problem one of the problems that I have. He gave the police the information, and the problem is that the police can't give him a time frame on, how we have a vehicle number. Could we check to see if it's a false plates? Who is the owner of this vehicle? I thought our state agencies supposed to be working in unison with each other, especially police and licensing officers, for crimes like these where vehicles, and it doesn't seem to happen. It doesn't seem to happen at all. I'll give you another brief instance. My sister, about 2 years ago, I think it was, I think that happened just before COVID, got her car bounced right at the corner of Oxford and Abercrombie Street. And there was some parliament thing in town. There was a police vehicle close by, and they stopped and told them they can't stay here. Go to Central Station. She went to Central Station, made the report, and the other party involved in the incident never went. She went through the lengths and breadth. She got the vehicle number and all that. She got onto license office, got the information, the name of the person who the vehicle is registered to, and the police did nothing. To date, nothing ever came out of it. So the caller who said earlier on that accountability, which was Mr. Tinto, I agree. Unless we have that sort of patriotism, which doesn't start now as adults, this has to come from, from babe in arms. We have to teach that patriotism towards country. We would always have reoccurring problems of having probably, I would term the wrong people or the right people in the wrong jobs. Depending on how you want to look at it, because there are no patriotism in terms of, I have this job to do and I have to account for what I do on my daily.
Patriotism is one thing, Garth, but let me tell you something. These same people who want to slack off on their job here, let's go to North America, and they call the manager on the case 24/7. They can't stay home one day, they can't reach late 2 days straight.
Yeah, well, of course, we know that.
So the accountability actually is at different levels.
Yeah.
Okay? And the minister has purview over the permanent secretary, who has remit over the managers and the senior managers and divisions.
Agreed.
Who have remit over the people who are supposed to do the work. So accountability comes right down the line.
I agree totally. There's no argument from me there, and no one is accounting for.
But them same people know they can't go to the States or the UK and do the work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they'll be looking for
a
job.
Talk about improvement and nothing improve.
It surprises me that the issue of the scanners to know that the amount of years we went without.
Let me tell you something. It didn't surprise me one bit. Because in my respected opinion, there is an element in customs and excise, not all, maybe quite small, that want the loopholes to continue because they're benefiting from the loopholes.
Yes, it's profitable to them.
I am not making any apology for saying that.
I agree with you, Paul. And if we start auditing some of these people's accounts, personal accounts, we would see.
And I will tell you that the FIU and FIB have information that they need to act more swiftly on. Well, I know what the range of a custom officer salary is. And that's all I will say.
Again, it's a case of people not accounting for the...
And this happening for 4 decades.
Yeah.
But nobody want to fix it.
You know, you get a sense in our country that we're suffering from that's not my workism. You know, you look at the traffic on the highway and the police saying that, you know, well, if we, I think for their perspective, safety is the main thing, right? So
but Dr. Rowley himself talked about a port and his deep fears about the operations of the port, and I'm being very kind here. The port as a whole.
Well, the situation is, as the lady said, you know, it's unfortunate.
Well, I'm tired, yes. I'm actually, it's only 7:58 and I'm exhausted already.
Gentlemen, I would have to say that, you know, God's willing, next week, Friday, we'll be here doing the same thing again.
No.
Yes.
You all will be here in 5 years. I won't. Talking about the same things.
Yeah.
Over and over.
I'm in 35 plus years. And the conversation ain't changing too much.
Change, yeah. It's the same. It's the same.
You're right.
It's the same.
Absolutely right, Paul. All right. God, Celia, thank you so much. Derek Cornwall, thank you so much for joining us on our YouTube channel. Have a great day.
For those who didn't hear earlier, and go through the express with your voices and thing again. I really enjoyed that. It was, if you all missed it,
I heard it.
All right.
Richard's Oscar award-winning performance of Trinity.
What is it? Go ahead, Rich. All yours.
It was.
We'll do it after 8 because we're gonna run up the news. We'll do it after 8. All right.
Have a good day, gentlemen.
All the best. You have a safe trip there. What are you bringing back for us?
That'll be a surprise.
Yeah, I'll take let's
what he could beg, eh? Oh,
a Bose Quiet Comfort 2 earbuds. I'll have one of that. You know me, I'm a lover of Bose. I'll just take that for now. That's all. That's all. Just put in your pocket right there. I don't want to kill you.
Thank you. All right, Steve.
All the best. Have a great one.
All right,
Thank you.
All right. Take care. Yes.
Bye-bye,
Say that again.
sweetie.
Yeah. What's that?
All right, take care, honey. Too sweet.
Oh, yes.
Hope you have a good one.
Can we do news now?
Yes.
Thank you. All powered by Champion Auto Services.
This is your news bulletin from Power 102 Digital.
Cabinet has taken a decision to immediately allocate $140 million to the National Flood Relief Program.